r/entitled parents. Lady at McDonald's doesn't understand how fast food restaurants work. I've read a lot of these stories and I finally decided to make my own account and share my experience with one in particular, EP and EK. Okay, so a little backstory. I used to work at McDonald's when I was a teenager and I'm also deaf, but I read lips. I developed bacterial meningitis and became fully deaf at the age of 12. I can still speak since I learned to speak before I became deaf, and most of the customers I got there were very understanding. Except one. I was working front counter that day as I usually did, so I was basically in charge of inside customers. This was the easiest position for me as I could see the customers and read their lips. A middle-aged lady and her 10-year-old son walk in and I say, "Hi, welcome to McDonald's," while signing it at the same time. She doesn't look up and is looking down at her phone, so I can't see her lips and I can't understand what she's saying. So I explain, "Excuse me ma'am, I'm deaf and I read lips. Can you look up for me?" She rolls her eyes and I clearly see she says EM. Why would they let her hard work the front counter? I am appalled by her behavior but just try to pretend like I didn't see it. I smile and say, "What can I get started for you today?" She starts to patronize me by speaking very slowly, which fun fact actually makes it 1000 harder to understand what you're saying. EM. I pause, want pause, a pause, diet pause, coke. Okay, is that all? EM. And a Happy Meal toy. Now all of our drinks are $1 no matter the size, but you have to pay for a Happy Meal toy. We don't just give them out for free. I ring her up and she's shocked. She demands to know why I'm discriminating against her son and forcing them to pay for a Happy Meal toy. I really don't want to cause any trouble and I wish I could say I told her where she could shove it, but I ended up just giving her the toy for free. I thought I had avoided conflict, but oh boy was I wrong. I told her the total was 1.06 and after she paid I handed her a large cup and motioned for the guy behind her to move forward. She waves a hand in my face and points to the drink cup. "Yes mom." EM. "You never got me my drink." Now I just thought she didn't see the machines behind her, so I pointed to the drink machine and said, "Oh, there's a drink station behind you where you can fill up your drink." I kid you not, she word for word said, "EM. That's your job. Do I look like I work for McDonald's?" My jaw hit the floor. I had never had someone be so rude in my entire life. I ended up telling her that when you come inside you fill up your own drinks because of sanitary reasons, but when she kept on pushing at me I ended up just using our drive-through drink machine to give her the Diet Coke. While I'm making the drink, my co-worker taps me on the shoulder, and this is the reason that this is in the EP tag. I see her son making fun of me to his mom by pretending to sign and just in general being a jackass. His mom didn't punish him or tell him off. Instead she encouraged him and started to make fun of me with him. I went to the back and ended up bawling my eyes out. I felt incredibly embarrassed and like I had made a fool of myself by having a disability. I turned in my 2 weeks notice about 1 week later and haven't worked in fast food since. To everyone reading this, please be kind to people, especially your fast food workers. It's a tough job even if you don't have any disability. And if you see people who have disabilities working and trying to make a living, please be patient and help us out by just letting us do our thing and make us feel welcome. Thank you. Stupid bitch parks in front of my driveway and gets instant karma. So there's a garage on the left hand side of my house where I park my car, and a driveway in front of it so the car can get inside. It's exactly like any other garage, and it is part of my property. Yet some people feel that they're entitled enough to park just anywhere, including right in front of my f***ing driveway. It starts off when I'm about to go to the convenience store to get snacks, and I notice there's a car literally parked right smack in the middle of my driveway. There's no way my car could possibly get around, and I wasn't having any of it. So I yelled, "WHO the f*** owns this car," and started blasting my horn. It took a while for someone to finally react, and it just so happened to be the entitled bitch who owned the car. Apparently she was a mom of 2 kids, and she kept reminding me of that while I was arguing with her. EM. What are you doing making noise? My kids are trying to sleep. Me. I apologize miss, but some asshole decided it was a good idea to park right in front of my driveway. EM. Yeah, that's my car. The spot I normally park in was taken by one of the neighbors and that was the only place I could park. Now at first I actually felt sympathy for this woman. She had kids and everything and she wasn't wrong about the car taking up her spot because one of my other neighbors had a party celebrating their niece's quinceanera and the neighborhood was packed with cars, and she didn't have a driveway of her own. So she had to park somewhere on the street. So I decided to calm down and nicely ask her to move her car, but instead of accepting my generosity, she decides to keep arguing with me. I am not moving my car. It's late and I have to make sure my children get to bed. Keep in mind it was only about 8:30 at the time. It wasn't late at all for her to move her car. I can't get my car out of here when you're parked in the driveway. I'm asking you again to please move your car. What could you possibly be doing this late at night that requires you to drive somewhere? I'm just headed to the convenience store to get I don't care what you're getting. You can wait until tomorrow to get your She was really getting on my nerves. I got ready to raise my voice but then I had an idea. So I reply with okay and walk back inside my house. When I looked back I saw she had that I totally showed him look on her face. I tried not to get pissed off at that as I reached for the phone and called the police. I explained the situation and a few minutes later a tow truck arrives. The car was in fact illegally parked, and so it was impounded. The next day, early in the morning I get a knock on my door. Obviously it's the mother. Her kids were standing next to her. She immediately starts yelling at me as soon as I open the door. Apparently she was going to take her kids to an amusement park, and now that they didn't have a car, there's practically no way for them to go. As soon as she tells me that I immediately chuckle, which pisses her off even more. Meanwhile her kids are crying. Mommy, I really want to go. Me being the insensitive asshole I point at the kid and let out a big ha, which causes him to start screaming like a banshee. The mom starts yelling at me saying how much of a monster I am. I just reply with get a cab and slam the door in her face. I may or may not have been a little too harsh, but that family of idiots got what they deserved. Joins our Skype call after we kill her son repeatedly in Minecraft. I was playing on a Minecraft server with 5 friends at the time this happened and this new kid joined our game and our Skype call. He kept breaking our builds and demanding we give him stuff. We originally decided to ban him, but we wanted to have some fun, so we kept killing him. The Skype call was basically 6 guys laughing and a little kid screaming, calling us hackers. We were talking on Skype when called. Let my son play on the server, you ungrateful D. No, we all said at the same time. My husband is a lawyer and he will sue you and I will call the police for harassment. Shut up, lady. Don't you talk to me like that. My son deserves all your items more than all of you combined. F off, woman. You are not allowed to effing swear. Only adults are allowed to use that kind of language. One of us makes a Christian Minecraft server meme and she gets really pissed. How dare you insult my religion? You are all going to hell. Alright, where do you live? We start making up addresses like 69 Weed Saint and 420 F off Ave. That's it. I'm leaving. About time. She left and blocked us. Me and my friends still joke about that incident. Entitled Anti-Vaxxers cause over half my class to catch the chicken pox. Expect a thank you. This happened back when I was in kindergarten, so some details are a bit fuzzy but the story is very much real. When I was in kindergarten, entitled boy came to class one day with chickenpox. This wasn't a mild case either. The spots were angry and red and within a few hours a couple of our classmates were itching. My teacher had immediately called his parents but they refused to pick him up, saying that it would be good for the other children to be around him and asking her to just leave him in the classroom. Now, only about half my class had gotten their chickenpox shots at that point. My parents were really good about getting my brothers and I our shots when we were supposed to get them, but as this was early in the school year, a lot of the parents hadn't gotten their kids vaccinated for chickenpox yet. To enroll in kindergarten at my elementary school you have to either vaccinate your kids before the school year starts, or within 3 months after. My teacher didn't know what to do. The office told her that if the parents wanted the kid to remain in class, She was technically supposed to let him unless other parents complained or the principal deemed him a danger to the other students. The principal was over at the high school on the other side of the city. He was principal of both. Weird Christian school thing. He would rush over when he could, but because of the school handbook the EB had to remain in class. My teacher asked the school secretary to call our parents, but she only had home number for most parents and ended up with a lot of answering machines. So in kindergarten everyone sat at table groups, and I was at EB's table. He was carrying on like normal, yelling about Power Rangers. I was also the only kid at our little table who had been vaccinated. I remember feeling bad because one of the girls was scheduled to get her shot the next day. Talk about bad luck. A lot of the kids at my table started itching, and the girl who was supposed to get her shot the next day showed me her arm, and she had very faint pink dots. I don't know if chickenpox usually moves that quickly, or if EB just had a super mutant strand, but I was freaked out. I knew I had gotten a shot that my mom promised would protect me from getting sick. But I was also 5 and still thought Stitch from Lilo and Stitch was a real being who lived in Hawaii. I was convinced that touching EB would mean I would die from chickenpox. So my friends and I all avoided him like he had, well, the plague. Finally the principal bursts into the room and kneels down in front of EB. He asks EB to please come with him so they can call his parents together. About 20 minutes later the entitled parents show up. Shit hits the fan. Entitled mom starts screaming about how both she and her husband are licensed chiropractors and know all about the evils of vaccines and how vaccines give people autism. My oldest brother has Asperger's. If this had happened like 5 years later I could have roasted the hell out of these anti-vaxxers for their stupidity. Entitled dad tries to calm EM down, but also quietly tells my principal that as licensed chiropractors, they know and have seen how vaccines not only give children autism, but also make them gay. As a lesbian, I again could have roasted the shit out of them had this taken place years later. My principal firmly tells them that EB needs to go home and can only come back when he is no longer sick. EP try to fight back but my principal is firm, and EB is dragged away from my class begging his parents for a new Power Rangers toy. As the week went on, more and more of my classmates dropped like flies, until only about 7 of us remained. We were the lucky 7 who had been vaccinated prior to the start of the school year, and since most of the class was homesick, we got to play a ton of games and pick out the books we wanted to read. Usually the class voted, and we 7 were often among the outvoted group. After a few days, my classmates began to return, not a red spot in sight, but it was one few weeks later that the real kicker happened. The entitled parents send out emails to all the parents of kids in my class, painting themselves as the victims and heroes for exposing the class to life's natural vaccine. My dad got mad, because even though I didn't get sick, thanks parents who were on top of my vaccinations, you'll rock. A lot of my classmates did. The entitled parents asked for a thank you from the other parents, and needless to say, they got no thank you out and only a lot of passive aggressive remarks and glares in the hallway. Also, don't feel too bad for EB, he turned out to be one of the biggest entitled douchebags I've ever met. I went to school with him all the way up through high school and he's one of the worst humans I've had the displeasure of dealing with. The entitled apple doesn't fall far from the entitled tree. TLDR. Entitled parents send their son to school with extremely contagious chickenpox, and then expect a thank you when over half the class gets infected.